what was out there in the night sky, stared up at the stars in the hopes of seeing something out of the ordinary? Have you heard unexplainable noises coming from a vacant room, or watched a shadow cross the wall in front of you? Have you asked yourself if there is life after this one, or if you had life before? What about strange creatures that are mythical and elusive? Have you experienced deja vu or felt a prompting to leave because you felt you were in danger? If you have, you were on the fringe.
Welcome to another episode of On the Fringe. I'm Mark.
I'm Pam.
And I'm Jess.
And together we're the
really
three
well.
amigos. No.
Practically.
Practically, yeah. All right. Well, welcome to another episode of Fun and Entertainment. Tonight we're going to be talking about the GATE program. A lot of people are familiar with this. Kids have been entered into this since I was a kid. I think the first time I heard about it, I was in high school. I don't think my school had a GATE program, but I could be wrong. I was in my own little world, so I may not have noticed. But there is a lot of conspiracy theories about the GATE program, so hence the title of the show, Education or Experimentation. And, you know, there's no reason it couldn't have been a little bit of both, but we're going to discuss it tonight. So with that getting said, I'm going to do a little bit about the GATE program. Officially, GATE programs were designed to identify children with exceptional academic abilities and place them in advanced curricula. They expanded rapidly in the U.S. during the Cold War, especially after Sputnik in 1957, when fear of falling behind the Soviets reshaped American education. So that's where it got its start, was quite a while back. And really, the whole space program really started pushing education. I'm not sure when the Department of Education was formed, although I'm thinking that was a mistake, because it seems like at some point they started trying to target education at the lowest common denominator, making everybody equal in mediocrity. But that's just kind of an observation.
It was started in like 1979. So I know Katie didn't have, it wasn't called GATE. It was called something else, but I know it was around when I was young, like really young. Yeah. So it would have been
in different places might call it different things.
Yeah, there was like TAG, LEAP.
Extended learning was one.
Extended learning.
Extended learning was
some
one.
places just called it AP.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, it just depended on the school sometimes what it was called. Especially if they already had a program in place for that and then GATE came in, they wouldn't change the name to GATE. They would keep it the same.
Yeah.
And just change the curriculum.
Just change the curriculum.
So, we want to start talking about some of the fringe theories first, or do we want to talk about what they're supposed to do? I think you found a really interesting deal you were telling me earlier about.
So I wanted to see how prevalent it still is, because I know that this program has kind of faded out in a lot of schools, and I was really interested to see if it was still playing out. And it is. In fact, the first thing that I pulled up was from Emporia State, which is right here in Kansas, relatively close to us. And they had an entire write-up that the government gives them to send to parents who are interested in what the GATE program is, whether or not their child should be placed in it, or if their child's been asked to be placed in it, this is the write-up they get. So they kind of know what's going on. And I downloaded just the first 6 questions and decided to stop there because it was very long and convoluted. But in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, it speaks very, I don't know what's a good way to put it. It's as if a politician wrote it. It never says your child is exceptionally smart in this area. We think that they're smart enough to take higher classes. We're going to help them improve and get up into a career position we think that might help them. In no way does it ever say that. And so I actually listed them, and I'm just going to read them out so you guys can hear just kind of how the verbiage is very standoffish, and we're not going to exactly say what we're doing, but we're going to make it sound like we are. So this is GATE facts included with school materials as of January 31st, 2026. This is when I looked this up. And this is the first 6 questions of many. The first one is, what does GATE stand for? Gifted and talented education, of course. My child gets good grades or SAT scores or both. Does that mean he or she is gifted? And it says, it would indicate that your child is gifted or that he or she is a very strong student or both. The third question, who are gifted students? The Office of Educational Research and Improvement in the U.S. Department of Education definition is children and youth with outstanding talent perform or show the potential for performing at a remarkably high level of accomplishment when compared with others of their age, experience, or environment. Still haven't gotten a straight answer out of them.
Yeah, it is. You were right. It does sound like you're talking to a politician.
Yeah.
Him or her. Not necessarily. Every person is unique. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses. What are the characteristics of gifted children? In general, gifted learners show characteristics that differ from their age peers in every area of function: cognitive, affective, physical, and intuitive.
Those are some of the best non-answers I've ever heard.
Right.
Yeah. What is the purpose of the GATE program? The purpose of the GATE program is to meet the unique needs of gifted children.
Which they just did not explain at all what gifted means. So
But I will say, so this is something that I kept seeing pop up over and over and over again, and all the verbiage that goes along with the GATE program. Intuitive will pop up over and over and over again. So just keep that in mind as we go forward, because you're going to hear it again.
Yes.
So that's what I found as of, it was Sunday, I believe, is when I looked that up. In the Emporia school system.
Well, that's interesting. Now, I mean, a lot of these advanced placement programs really were just advanced placement programs.
Yeah.
I've known people who went through just plain, they got like advanced placement English and advanced placement math, and were able to test out of, early college classes because of it, or got college credit for it because they were doing college work in high school. But some of the stories that come out are just weird. I mean, normally I like weird, but I was a weird child, so I can't. I'm a weird adult.
Wait, was? Is that what you said?
Well, just speaking as a male in general, our level of mental level probably peaks out around 12, and it stays that way. Pretty much for our whole lives. We might act better than that. That's because most of us have gotten married and our wives have trained us to be good in public.
That's awesome.
Chris is still struggling with me, so you might send her a few thoughts and prayers on that.
That's funny. Now we did have in Katie, there was an extended learning program is what it was called. And it was for things like that, for the accelerated classes and stuff like that. I don't remember it ever being called GATE or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can call it whatever they want. They were getting.
It was the same thing. It was just a different name. based on the district, more than
See,
likely.
the thing is when you're getting federal funding for these programs, then you have to take whatever the feds say you have to teach. So some stuff that just doesn't make sense found its way in there.
Yeah. And you will find, like, in the public or in the private schools, they did have their own extended learning and they had their own names. And nowhere did I see did the government part of that infiltrate the private schools. So if you went to a private school and you remember you were in the exceptional program or something, you more
You
than
were
likely were
really-
just on the school's program to help
Yeah.
you excel
Yeah.
at whatever you were
That makes
specializing in. Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of that's how it should be. Like I said, you get online and you start reading these weird stories that kids tell about what was happening to them. And almost all of them that's got the weird stories, they all come out and say, I felt like I was being watched the entire time I was in it.
Yeah.
So
We should list all of the weird things that these people are claiming they are suddenly remember. And I will mention that a lot of these people just have one or two vague memories of something very strange, and then the more they start really thinking about it, or something triggers a memory, and then it starts kind of snowballing for them. Especially when they hook up with other groups of people, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I do remember that now." And it starts like the snowball effect, and before you know it, you've got like a whole brain full of memories that your brain has suddenly had repressed at some point for some reason. But there is some weird stuff going on with these programs if any of these stories are true. And I would think that they would be, because a lot of these people don't know each other and came up, at the same time saying, well, this happened to me.
I remember
do you
this.
guys
and I
want
remember
to,
that.
do you
Did
guys
you
have
see
one
what
that you
Ian
wanna-
put in the chat? He said, you know who else was taking college classes in high school? Ted Kaczynski, which is the Unabomber.
Well, but see, he also was kidnapped. He was part of MK Ultra. He was experimented on by the CIA with drugs, and
Yeah.
he went nutso, and that's what happened. So the
Dang.
Unabomber was created by the U.S. government by accident.
Yep.
Because they would use fake prostitutes to lure people into hotel rooms and then experiment on them.
That's freaky. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
And other
Yeah,
nefarious
that
ways
that
too.
they've admitted to that. The government has admitted to that it happened.
Yeah, MK Ultra, a lot of that's declassified now.
Yeah,
So
it's all real. And if they tell you stuff about MK Ultra, a lot of that stuff sounds like that's made up. No, the
Nope.
government
They're
has
really doing
admitted to a lot of it. Not all of it, but a lot of it.
you get into
So-
the controlled remote viewing. That was huge. That was definitely a thing.
And see, I think part of some of the weird stories for the GATE program was them trying to find candidates for programs like that. And the remote viewing stuff works.
Yeah, it does. I can, yeah.
The Russians used it, and to great effect against the United States. And so the United States turned around and figured out how to do it back.
So I'm in a group, and we actually did a little remote viewing the other night, and I'll have to show you. Let me find the sheet. Here it is. Everything that's circled on here were hits on one thing that we did for me.
Wow.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And when you're doing remote viewing, you just draw what you see, but you don't name it. Like, you don't use nouns. So like here, I was like, you can't call it a chair because I'm thinking it's got a chair feeling to it. And the target ended up being an arcade and a pinball machine.
Oh.
Yep, that looks like
Yeah.
a pinball machine.
Yeah. So yeah. And it had a bar in it, the bar looked like that one. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun.
That is cool.
That is neat.
Yeah. It's pretty neat stuff.
So do we want to talk about some of the conspiracy theories first and then talk about the weird stuff, or the weird stuff first?
Let's talk about the weird stuff first so that the conspiracy theories will make sense.
All right, let's do it.
Idea.
Yeah. So the things that these people are remembering are, and let's just, I'm going to call out some of the list I have if you guys have stuff to add in, and we'll talk about them a little bit as we go. First of all, they remember either being tested into it or just being pulled from their classroom one day and sent off to go do these specialty classes, whether it was an everyday thing or like a once or twice a week thing. But the stories are all the same. They were taken into a completely dark room that had no windows, or if it did have windows, it was covered, so that it was completely dark. And it was led by not so much a teacher, but they all felt it was some kind of an outsider, someone who they'd never seen there before, and only were in those spaces for them. Yeah. Or out to trailers. Sometimes it was completely outside of the building, and there were some stories of kids getting bused to a completely different building away from their school campus, which is where this was happening at. And they've all reported, everybody has kind of different memories, like a shred of this and a shred of that. So we've heard strange intuition tests where they tested to see what their intuition was like. Zener cards or ESP cards, where you would hold them up and guess if, what shape was on the back. Which frankly, I can't imagine they would be using for any kind of a school setting. I can imagine maybe some intuitive tests just to kind of see if you're on a level of thinking beyond what's right in front of your face, but
how do you explain those as an educational tool,
Yeah. I don't know.
Something like,
the big one is the audio test that they would run, or not even really test. So, of course, we've all remember when we were in elementary school having to have the ear testing done by the school nurse. She would go in and they'd put the big earphones on you that smelled horrible, and they would play tones. You would hear like a little beep, and you had to raise your hand if you heard it. And it was a basic little test. Sometimes people reported there was like a little bit of talking at the beginning of it, and it was just explaining to you, you need to listen for the tone, raise your hand at the tone.
Sorry, guys, my internet crashed. I had to log in on my phone.
Oh, no.
I had to hotspot in. So I don't know what happened. But
we're glad you made it back.
Well, it's that conspiracy theory. Every time we start to talk about something important, the universe tries to shut us down. Yep,
somebody has issues.
My goodness. We were talking about the hearing tests. So these are quite separate. Almost all the people who have reported being in GATE or something akin to it have reported, or conspiracy-wise, I should say, not every GATE kid has said that this happened to them. But they've reported that they were sat down sometimes in dark rooms with the headphones on, with a cord that went to like a suitcase or a really large, machine. And it runs the gamut what they heard, but mostly the sound of waves, the sound of white noise, beeping, digital or robotic sounds, man and woman murmuring or plain out speaking, high-pitched keening sounds, and super low tones and mixes thereof. And they would, a lot of people said that they would have to say what they were feeling or what they thought they were seeing in their head while they were listening to these. Or it was more of a meditative thing where they would have to lay down on the floor with these on and just relax and lay there for an hour or more, just letting these things infiltrate their ears.
That sounds like what I do with my tone generator.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yes, I'm trying some new stuff.
And, it's you don't want to mix it up because they did do the hearing tests in school,
Yes.
Every year. But normally it was the school nurse that administered it. They normally didn't bring an outsider in.
Yeah.
You had the crusty, dusty headphones for sure.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the person coming in.
I remember those brown headphones.
Yeah.
They just Bakelite, and they smelled of burnt
I can
rubber
still smell
and
them.
Yes.
body odor.
For sure.
Yeah.
Around
You're like, when was
everybody's
the last
crusty
time
heads.
it was clean?
Yeah, never clean. They didn't clean them. They didn't do stuff like that back then. We were.
Yeah.
No
That's
alcohol.
why our
like
generation is
there.
tougher.
They were always like avocado green or like smoker's brown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Colored.
brown. That's a good
with a
good
brown
description.
plastic
Yeah.
around the ears. Yeah,
harvest. Well, not
Yeah.
even harvest gold.
they were just disgusting, is what they were.
They
Disgusting.
were smoker's brown is much better.
Smoker's brown. Yeah. They've also reported having to do strange paperwork like line graphing nothing. They're just being told to sit down with a blank piece of paper and to start graphing. Decoding worksheets where they would have to decode different things. Having to sit down and be read to, or having to read really strange stories that didn't make sense, and then having been asked afterwards how it made them feel, or did they see a problem with the story. Puzzle tests with blocks, or I can't remember what they're called, the little triangles, you'd have to put them together in sequences.
Yep.
Code and symbol interpretation, and I did find an entire section of people who claimed that they had to learn hieroglyphics.
Interesting.
Very weird. Yeah. Ink blot tests.
Mm-hmm.
Laying in the dark and listening to meditation frequency tapes nearly every day. Board games, playing board games and being asked what their opponent was planning on doing next. So that's like an intuition test one, I would think. Feeling out what was in their minds at any given moment. Being shown strange films or movies. Learning Morse code. Reading books upside down. With strange breathing exercises. Yeah. Drawing hidden objects, which I think is probably like an intuitive type test.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And then the most famous one of all, the pink tablets or the pink fluids being administered occasionally or nearly every day. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories about this fluid. Now, we all remember that at one point or another, you were given some kind of a pink fluid or a pink tablet when the whole fluoride craze was going on. Yeah. They had to get fluoride in us. And the pink tablets was you're supposed to chew it up, and then you could see where you had not brushed well.
Yeah.
So
you always felt bad for the kid who had the bright pink mouth.
Yes. You were like, ew, they didn't brush at all.
Yeah. Ew.
But these people are saying that they were given to this consistently. And it was almost always pink. I think I saw one where they said that it was green colored fluid. It was in a pump that they would pump out a little Dixie cup full of it, like once a week, and they had to drink that. I can't imagine that they needed that much fluoride. It was already in toothpaste at the time. It was already in the water system, for goodness sakes. I can't imagine.
Somewhere I was seeing where they're finding that the fluoride causes some health issues.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
So,
it actually messes with your brain a little bit if you get
especially in the levels that it was being
administered.
We were being bathed in, pretty much.
Yeah. So in researching like all of these things that have supposedly people are remembering now, I also found a lot of people who had gotten together to kind of see what the markers were for it. These people are claiming that they have things that are happening to them now, or memories that they have now that belong to nearly all of them. So, and I thought that was really interesting. So they all have, of course, memory loss because they're not remembering all of it. Childhood trauma featuring water or drowning. Strange scars on their forehead. Experiences with precognition and strange dreams, and just general high strangeness in their lives now. Nearly all of them have had near-death experiences. And a fairly good portion of them go on to be recruited for the military or government positions. The ones that go all the way through the program.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
There's also one that I found, but I thought it was a little sketchy, so I didn't want to completely include it on the list, was a mole or large freckle, sometimes triangle-shaped, on the left forearm.
Yeah.
But for adults, even if you didn't grow up having freckles, we
do
all get freckles from having been out in the sun. So it's really easy to say, oh yeah, I have a freckle on my left forearm. Well, of course, we all do.
Yeah, I got
We
freckles
all
all
do.
over the place.
Unless you're Bubble Boy, who lived in the dark 24/7, you're going to have freckles on your forearms. So
Yeah.
I don't like to include that one.
Yeah, that's crazy. I got weird crap all over mine.
Yeah, but you can find these stories everywhere. And in fact, I was telling Mark backstage, as I was looking these up, I always like diving into like the Reddits and the cores and stuff like that, because sometimes you can get some really great information that way. Somebody will be like, hey, I saw this CIA report over here, go check it out. So I like to go through those, and the Reddits on this topic are harsh. It's a faction of two sides, and they never cross. There's the side that's all about, I so remember this, it scares me to death, what am I forgetting, what were they doing, what was I a part of? And then you have the other side that were in the GATE program but are exclaiming that GATE was nothing more than a way to help you learn, and how dare you say anything else about it. And that side gets mean.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the kids who are over here going, I'm just a little concerned. Is there anybody else here that feels this way with me? And then here's this other side just like, like, why are you guys so mean?
Well, yeah, and you can't do a black and white with any of that. It's not everybody's going to have the same experience.
Well, and like I said, I'm going to say that some of these were just normal, learning programs.
Yeah. And in fact, I would guess that
Most
if
of
this was a thing, if this was a government experiment, and I could see this happening, them literally stepping in to help boost you, but also in the process going, let's test them out while we got them in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see.
Well,
Because
yeah,
they were doing that shit back then. They were absolutely doing
and that's
it.
probably
100% were.
that is probably what was happening. That probably was legitimately helping children, but let's run a few tests on them just because we can.
Yeah. Now, I did find many, many, many occasions where people said, I was accepted to the GATE program, and so my best friend was too, and we left class together, but they would separate us, and I was never in the same class with her. I was with 3 other kids in this teeny tiny room, and she said they did something completely different than what we did. So that would be my guess, that they had tested them, the GATE kids, and thought, well, these 3 over here have some exceptional abilities over here.
Yeah.
We're going to test them out on this stuff, and those are the actual, like, GATE kids who are exceptional at something, and we're going to help them get up into the military or the government or whatever. It makes me wonder.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, and see, I've read all these conspiracy theories, and I'm not sure. I mean, there could have been some bad actors, but I'm not sure it was necessarily nefarious, just secretive. I mean, and some of it could be nefarious. I don't know.
Well, with our government, I wouldn't.
Well, it
Yeah,
may not have been so much nefarious. I mean, if you believe some of the conspiracies, what if it was more like, where did they get their MK Ultra people? They had to find them from somewhere. This
Right,
would have been
a screening
perfect
process.
opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
to screen for candidates for MK Ultra was, go through the school and see who would fit in the category they need.
That's what I was saying. I mean, that's what the government does. I mean, when you go into the military, you take several tests to see kind of where your morality lays.
Yeah.
And some of those people who have kind of a looser morality than others will often get shifted into positions where they need to have low morality.
They
have
maybe a bit
special
of a
jobs to do.
sociopath kind of thing. Yeah.
They may not have a problem
dangerous
taking out.
one.
Yeah, they may not have a problem taking out some dude, that needs to be taken out or something.
Yeah, that's scary.
But that's just how that is.
That's
It's
scary.
known.
And it's
You
not
do through that
necessarily just
testing.
our government. Every government does stuff
yeah.
like
Every
that.
government does
Sure.
it. Yeah.
It's what governments
I don't want to
do.
make America sound like we're some, horrible,
We're not alone. in it.
No,
No,
the
everybody
only
has.
difference between America and other countries is that eventually somebody will admit to it here, like they admitted to MK Ultra, and
Yeah.
there was the time they shelled San Francisco to see how
Yes.
and
St.
that was a
Thermonuclear
Louis.
kind
training
of thing. Yeah.
to see how
When they
bacteria would propagate through the
Yes.
population.
dropped
They were
that
like,
super
oh, it
bug
worked.
in
Cool.
St. Louis, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I
That's
mean,
wild. You know, if we
Julie
do
has
that
it
to our
right.
own people, what were they doing to others? You know.
Right. Well, I mean, and then there's the prison experiments where they did drug experiments and disease experiments on prisoners in jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody knows about the Tuskegee experiment where they
Give them syphilis.
infected hundreds of black men with syphilis
Yeah.
to see what happened.
Yep. Yeah, just to
I
watch
mean,
them to see how they would deteriorate. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
Easy.
there's always going to be a bad actor someplace, and when you get into government and you start concentrating power, the bad actors are honestly they're going to look for stuff like that, and not necessarily it's not necessarily government being bad. It's just people with questionable ideas tend to be drawn towards powerful positions so they can do what they want to do.
Yep.
It's in human nature. It's not, it's not anything systemic. It's just that's human nature, and human nature is when people like that tend to seek power so that they can just do what they want.
Yeah.
It's sad. Well, anyway, that was a bit serious. Sorry, I didn't mean to get that deep.
It's perfect because let's lead us into the conspiracy side of things. What do we think this is?
Okay, well, I've got pages of this stuff. Okay,
well, go for it. Pick one and go.
Although number one here, French theories about the GATE program is the quiet eugenics theory.
Ooh.
GATE wasn't just about education; it was about selective human development. So that's what we've been kind of talking about. Programs allegedly prioritize children with certain genetic, behavioral, or cognitive traits. Echoes of early 20th century eugenics rhetoric, optimization, selection, and elite minds. Critics note overlap between early GATE advocates and institutions that previously supported IQ-based population control. Some people believe GATE was sanitized continuation of eugenics, focusing on intellect instead of biology. Maybe. I don't know.
That's freaky. Not disturbing at all.
We've actually brushed by some of these. The next one is did I just skip a page? I did skip. Cold War asset identification. The idea that GATE was a pipeline to identify future intelligence assets. CI funded educational research in the 50s through the 70s. There was MK Ultra, which was psychological testing, normalization. Well, that one was about mind control with drugs. And unusual data collection on children, attention span, emotional control, and creativity under pressure. Okay.
Want to see if they can do their best pressure or the best work under pressure kind of thing.
Well,
right.
Frankly, I think that one probably is the truest one of all. That's not really so much, I mean, the horrible stuff along with it, but the basis of it. We're going to test these children out to see who has the aptitude to do some of this special stuff for us later on when they age in.
Yeah.
That's absolutely what it was. There's no other reason for them to have that program through a government.
Ian said that sounds pure Nazi.
I mean,
yeah.
They were highly into eugenics.
Yes,
the starseed indigo child theory.
Yeah.
The idea kids weren't smart; they were different. Popular New Age circles, gate children are described as highly intuitive, empathic, and pattern oriented. Ties to indigo children, crystal children, and star seeds. The belief that institutions noticed these traits and attempted to control or suppress them. I don't know, but and I can see with some of these stories that come out where people would come up with some of these theories.
Yeah.
Um,
I hit that one too, and it came up with the alleged purpose of it being to identify children with unusual brain wave patterns, or to track the hybrid or advanced individuals,
yeah.
and to just monitor their psychic and intuitive development. And that, we're seeing that go over and over again, the psychic and intuitive development being monitored.
Right. Trauma-based intelligence conditioning. The idea was gate programs were unintentionally or intentionally used stress to sharpen cognition. Reported experiences, isolation from peers, high performance pressure, identity formation about being different, and emotional suppression in favor of logic. And it mirrors known physical or psychological conditioning techniques to induce mild stress to enhance adaptability, compliance, and analytical detachment. I mean, yeah, I could see that. And honestly, so I'm going to get off on a slight tangent here, but I won't stay on it long. Video games. How many of us have played video games? So most people don't realize a lot of the early video games were developed as a way to train soldiers to lose their inhibition to pull the trigger. So it started out with human-shaped targets at the range, and then they worked on early quote-unquote video games where they used light silhouettes and stuff like that, and it developed into the modern video game. When you look at these games, isn't that kind of what they're doing? Is to desensitize a person?
Yeah.
I mean, and even, all these drone operators,
they're used to the little controllers.
Yeah, they're used to the controllers, and so they're basically playing an expensive video game in real life.
Yeah.
And they're, they're separated from the battlefield, so they've got no problem pushing a button.
You know what it makes me think of? Do you guys remember the movie The Last Starfighter?
Yeah, it's coming out again.
Premise of that. Oh, it is?
Yeah, they're going to be. It's going to be a series, I think. I can't remember. I saw something about it the other day on Facebook. Yeah, they're bringing it back.
Yeah, that was a great show, and that was the whole premise behind it. Was this kid was playing an old stand-up arcade game out? Was it like a campsite or a campground or something? Trailer park, yeah.
Yeah.
And he ends up doing so well on it that they come and recruit him to be a starfighter.
Yeah. So, anyway, off that tangent.
Ian said Jet Set Willie takes on a new and darker meaning.
Right.
That's funny.
So another theory is social engineering and elite class formation. So the idea was Gate was trying to create a cognitive caste system. Early separations of thinkers from followers, reinforcement of hierarchy under the guise of merit, long-term societal shaping by privilege, by privileging certain minds. The theory often connects Gate alumni to tech elites, defense contractors, Silicon Valley leadership, think tanks, and policy circles. I don't know. Again, I can see elements of that where they could have been doing it on purpose, and it could have been accidental. I don't know.
It could have been just a side effect of it.
And it could be just people reading stuff into it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hidden psychological experiments. The core idea is GATE doubled as a longitudinal study. Children tracked for decades without informed consent. Data shared across agencies or universities. Testing of creativity versus conformity. Observation of leadership emergence, and others.
Gian said all the worst people then. Yeah, right? Oh.
Right? Next theory I have is the broken gift theory. The Gate produces brilliance at a cost. Common themes in forums and memoirs: high intelligence paired with depression or burnout, imposter syndrome, alienation from family or community, and difficulty functioning in non-structured systems. Okay. I mean, that sounds like human nature right there. And there's people like that I know, and that weren't in any kind of program.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I don't know. Why these theories persist is because of lack of transparency in early program development, Cold War secrecy culture, and similarities to other confirmed covert programs, and large numbers of adults who report shared psychological after effects, and of course, the most important one, ongoing mistrust of institutional education and the government.
Yep.
So, I mean, so here's the thing with a lot of conspiracy theories is, one, so many of them come out as to being actually true. And then nobody trusts government with anything anymore, which they shouldn't. They should never trust government with anything.
Right.
They managed to screw up the postal system, so why would we let them handle anything else?
No, Jeff.
Yeah,
I mean-
certainly not the education of our children. They've screwed it up enough.
Yeah, that's the worst thing that happened to education in the United States was the creation of the Department of Education. Yes, there's now standardized education across the country, but at, I believe, a much lower level. Like I said, they've tried to dumb it down to the lowest common denominator. And so it makes it really easy for certain people to get through. You know, it's okay to fail. I'm sorry. It's okay to fail.
Mhm. You need to fail to learn.
You
Yeah.
need to fail to, some of the biggest names in science were failures in school,
Hmm.
and they've gone on to be brilliant. You know, I don't know. It's that whole trophy for participation thing. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I'm really not. If you don't learn to lose gracefully, how are you supposed to learn anything? You know?
How are you supposed to
That's
learn
a
to win gracefully?
Yeah, that's a huge thing to be able to self-regulate. You know, how do you
Yeah.
learn to self-regulate if you're never put in a position where you need to?
Yeah. There needs to be fair competition in order for somebody to strive to do better and to succeed. And when
So-
you put everybody on the same playing field and award everyone the same prize for no matter what they do, then you just live in mediocrity and nothing ever gets better.
Yeah, and I would like to see the world be a meritocracy. You know, if you perform well, you should be compensated well. If you perform poorly, then, you know, the same
Try
go.
again.
Try again. And then there are just some people who aren't as capable as others. There's no reason to bring the more capable down to make them closer together.
Hmm. Yeah. If we want to give them a hand, the ones who, you know, are failing at that, then you find what they're good at. And you
Right.
push them in
Good
that
at
And
direction.
that used to be how it was. I mean, I remember when that was the norm. You tried to lift up the people at the bottom instead of bringing down the people at
Yeah.
the top.
That's right.
And with the Department of Education, since the Department of Education was formed, it's been more, and No Child Left Behind was the worst thing.
Oh, yeah.
I understand they were trying to do something good, But like again, they're bringing down the top performers, trying to level them. Let the top performers be the top performers, and spend your time and effort on the poor performers and help them find out what works for them.
Mhm.
Yep.
You know. Anyway, I'll get off that soapbox. And that
We're in the
is not,
weeds.
and I'm going to say that is not the fault of local educators. That's strictly a
No.
failure of the U.S. government.
Yeah. I think the good teachers have been hindered. The good
Yeah.
school
They've
systems have
been
had
hobbled.
their hands
Good
tied.
teachers and good school systems have been hobbled
Yeah.
by
They're
the
so
government.
they're so focused on test taking and not actually teaching, and it sucks for the teachers and for the kids. But I mean, look, the poor teachers with their hands tied. There's stuff they do want to do in their classrooms that they just can't because
Yeah,
They can't.
they're too focused on
it's
test scores now.
all
And
right.
obviously, when you look at where we are as opposed to the rest of the world, it's not really working out that great.
No, used to be United States was some of the best education in the world, and that's falling behind.
Yeah, it is.
But we still have a large enough population, and we do provide a very good basic education. So some of the really brilliant ones still stand out, but I feel like they're being hobbled as well. Everybody's being hobbled. It just, anyway. See, I'm being a conspiracy theorist. I've always been kind of a bit of a. If so many of them weren't true, I wouldn't start believing in some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So here is a few of the things that programs that were real that might be a crossover into the GATE program, at least as far as conspiracy theories go. There was Project Talent from 1960 to 1970s, largest education study ever conducted in the U.S. Tested 400,000 high school students, measured intelligence, personality, interests, emotional stability, funded by the U.S. Department of Defense, longitudinal tracking over decades. The unofficial suspicion is a nationwide cognitive census. Okay, well, that feeds right into the conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite, MK Ultra. Subprojects in
Ah.
confirmed history is children were included in some psychological research for behavior modification, sensory deprivation, stress tolerance testing, and institutionalized children were disproportionately affected because, they didn't have parents to watch over them. So this was a real thing. I mean, we know it happened.
Yeah.
Montessori and progressive education. The official narrative was child-centered creativity first learning. The fringe reinterpretation is early cognitive reprogramming. I don't really know anything about that one. I'm not going to say one way or the other. The Indigo Child movement as blowback. Timing is suspicious to theorists. Gate perks, emotional burnout reported, or gate peaks, and when emotional burnout reported. Indigo Child concept emerges in 1970s through the 90s. Fringe belief is that spiritual communities reframed damaged prodigies as enlightened beings. Counter narrative to institutional labeling and reclaiming of children who didn't fit the system. This cascades as suppressed visionaries, over systemized intuitives, and too wild for the grid. And then there was this Soviet and Nazi child development echoes. Historical parallels documented Nazi Germany's elite youth academies, Soviet young pioneer scientific schools, and state curated genius pipelines. The fringe argument is the U.S. feared falling behind and adopted similar programs with better branding. And their theory is GATE was America's friendly version of the state genius cultivation. But you know what?
And I wouldn't put it past them.
That was a thing. That was a
Yeah.
thing.
Project,
That was
like
true.
Paperclip, we pulled how many Nazi
Yeah.
scientists in and had them working for us, so I wouldn't put it past them.
And there
Right.
was a lot of fear of they were more advanced than we are. So they would hear whispers about what, Russia was doing or whoever. And so we'd have to rush to try to get something going too. And that's
Right.
how the whole Stargate got
Right.
started.
So, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. A genius pipeline is not a bad deal. You just don't want to overdo it. You don't want to get too zealous with it. There's nothing wrong with helping geniuses along. I think that is absolutely something that needs to be done.
But they shouldn't be doing it in nefarious, quiet.
No, it should be out in the
Convoluted
open.
ways.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we found a
Yeah.
genius. We are going to educate this person until they can't be educated anymore
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
voluntarily.
Ugh.
There were apparently CIA-linked boarding schools and elite academies frequently mentioned in fringe circles. Phillips, Exeter, Andover, selective science academies, and an unusual number of alumni in intelligence and defense sectors. The theory is GATE identifies them, and the elite schools isolate, and the agencies recruit. Then there is the autism, savantism, and mislabeling theory. Modern reinterpretation of past data. Many GATE kids may have been neurodivergent. Autism, ADHD, hyperfocus traits were poorly understood. Now, this one, I believe that because I'll tell you, I'm ADD or ADHD or something.
You're something with a D. It's something with a D in it, huh?
I was a weird hyper child, and
We all were. At least the three of us here.
in today's
Yeah,
school,
but-
I would probably have been medicated. I would have had it medicated out of me. But since they started medicating these kids who have these tendencies, the identification of gifted and geniuses has gone down in the United States. So are we just drugging them into oblivion instead of giving them the extra service?
I think that has a lot to do with the fact that we are not giving the youngest of our youth the support, that initial foundation learning to grow off of. They're not getting that first impact of really good reading and color skills and cognitive skills, and then into writing and reading properly, and even pronunciation isn't being fully taught anymore. I mean, heck, we're just now getting cursive back into schools.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
There's a reason that MIT is a 3-letter university.
I have
And
people.
I think that's how you get, really quick, Mark, I think this is how you are getting not true ADHD or spectrum type situations, but I think you're getting kids who were meant to really be well learners and to excel in that situation, not getting that foundational education that they need to stack on top of to get that growth correctly. And so they're stepping into a school system where they're not ready with that basis. And so it's just a whole lot of energy and nowhere to place it anymore. So you're getting kids, I think, that are getting misdiagnosed having ADHD, when really all they are is they have
bored.
no place to focus because they don't have that
They're not
foundation.
being challenged on their board.
We're seeing that right now with
Yeah.
my youngest granddaughter. She's bored out of her mind. She was reading when she was like 3 and 4 years old. She was starting to read.
Mhm.
And she
Well,
was
that's what I'm
straight down
saying. Like,
bored.
some kids who may, like her, would have been able to read that early or not, because the parents aren't stepping in and even cracking a book for them, so they don't know what that is. And the schools aren't really pushing what they need to push for that foundation work. So if you've got a kid in like 4th or 5th grade bouncing off the walls, doesn't know isn't up to reading level, isn't doing this, and they're like, oh, they've got ADHD. It could just very well be they're a very smart child that was never given the push to learn.
Yep.
Right.
If you're going off without, if there's no foundation, if there's no foundation underneath of you, you're going to crumble. There's no
well, not
way
only is
to...
there no foundation, what we're seeing now is there's not the support, and it's not the teacher's fault by any means. It's the way our educational system's set up now. There's just not the support that's needed. And again, I harp on this all the time. They're so busy taking tests that they're not. Yeah. They don't have the time to do the really important stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
To actually learn.
Tests.
Yeah, it's a good example.
Everybody learns different ways. There's like 3 different ways. There's either verbal, there's, you do it with your hands, you learn, your hands-on person, or you write it,
Or visual.
Yeah, visual. Thank you.
Yeah.
And, and not everybody can fit in that little box that they seem to be trying to stick everybody in. Yeah. Yes, Chris, they teach to pass state tests. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, for funding.
Here's a very good example. I'm going to toss my kid under the bus to give you a really good example of how this has happened. So, absolutely, they teach these kids not how to learn, but how to test. When my daughter got into college, she was struggling so hard in classes that she should have been passing easily. And I finally got sat down with her. I'm like, show me your notes, show me what's happening. And she showed me her notebook. This girl didn't know how to take notes. She literally had just tried to write down verbatim what the teacher was saying, even stuff that had nothing to do with the topic. It just, and you can't keep up with writing it down. So she would give up after a while, and then once in a while write down like a little, like, remember this, and it'd be like a word, thinking that it would trigger her to remember it. And she couldn't. They never taught her how to take notes. And I remember when I was in school, it was part of our junior high curriculum. We had these rotating classes that you took every 9 weeks, like computer or such and such. One of them was note-taking skills. You took it your 7th grade year, and you learned how to properly take notes as you were being taught.
I would have loved to have had a note-taking class. I never knew until you just said that. I never knew such a thing existed. I would have benefited greatly from a note-taking class. Mm-hmm. I just tried to write down keywords and phrases as I went. I didn't know what I was doing.
Some of the stuff that's not taught anymore just floors me. Like my son, he's extremely intelligent. He's an engineer, and he can't fill out an envelope to save his life. He has no idea how to do where the stamp goes. Wow. Yeah. And you guys know him. He's really smart, but he doesn't. They weren't taught that. What was the class? I can't remember the name of it. Home ec.
Home ec.
They don't do home ec, so they didn't have that section in home ec where you learn how to do that. You learn how to balance a checkbook and
when our kids were in there.
He doesn't even.
When I was in junior high, we had to take wood shop, home ec, and art. And there was one other that we had to take. So each 9 weeks we had a different class.
Speech.
Home ec. When our kids were in school, home ec was not. It was an elective. Yeah. So they didn't have to take it.
But we
we were off in the weeds. We were so far off the topic.
We did get off in the weeds.
We are kind of, but I mean.
I feel like that with all things, that there is some grain of truth to this, or there wouldn't be so much information out there about it. Mm-hmm. So my hot take on this is, that there was something going on that probably even the teachers didn't even know about. They probably didn't know. Why are we taking these weird tests?
I think it was Gateway.
Yeah.
I think it was Gateway.
Yeah.
Which we haven't talked about yet.
All right, let's talk about Gateway.
Okay, so the Gateway program is a CIA program. And In 2007, they released the papers on it, so we know this was a real deal. And the similarities between the Gateway program and the GATE program at the schools is very high.
Extremely high.
Very, very extraordinarily high. I mean, even some dates kind of match up with when things got started and when things kind of ended and went away. And you can go and take a look at these documents if you want. They're online. I will say some of them are redacted, which I hate. I hate that they redact things. But some of them are. They released them in 2003. You can go and look them up. Go look up CIA Gateway Program. You'll find all of them. They're reproduced everywhere. So the Gateway Program was a program started off of this dude's idea, this Bob Monroe.
Yeah.
He started back in the 50s. He'd had an experience where he realized that varying sound frequencies and stuff could kind of alter the human mind a little bit. It could put you in kind of like a meditative state. And he thought that with the right kinds of frequencies and sounds, that it could change your way of thinking and you could actually develop your consciousness. And later on, it got even further out. He was like, it'll help you astral project. It will help you, read minds and all this other stuff. Anywho, he founded an entire institute, which is still around in 1971, the Monroe Institute in Virginia, and it is still open to this day, and you can actually go online and take courses from them and how to do even some of this stuff here, this exact program, the Gateway Program.
Sign me
Go
up.
look it up. Really interesting, right? Anywho, in the late stages of the Cold War is when the CIA looked into him and this program, and they were like, hey dude, we're kind of interested in having you join us for a little bit. You want to come? And he was like, sure, because he really wanted to expand this out and get people to kind of see his way of thinking. So this is when the Gateway Program started. It was late 70s into the early 80s, and it ran clear through the 90s and kind of pooped out towards the end of the 90s and kind of ran its term. However, they said it ended, but I don't think it ended completely. I'm sure there's still something a little bit going on with it. Anywho, so I wrote down, I got up onto Gateway's platform and wrote down kind of what it was about. And you're going to kind of hear some of the stuff. So the goals of Gateway, it's the art of becoming more conscious of one's particular inner resources, inner abilities, and most of all, one's inner guidance. The process involves synchronizing the brain's left and right hemispheres, returning to the hemisync state. When specific varying tones, also referred to binaural beats, are listened to through headphones, both brain hemispheres begin to equalize their level of frequency. A deep state of calm follows, and that's when the portal opens. In this state, it's possible to escape the restrictions of time and space and tap into the intuitive knowledge of the universe. Parts of Gateway, I wrote this as notes to myself, parts of the Gateway Program and GATE in the school are very similar. The audio sessions and movies, the loss of time and memories, practicing projection, and all these other things. If you start digging, I'm not going to sit here and read the whole thing. Go look it up yourselves and dig into the Gateway Program. And you're going to start seeing all these little tests popping up, like the Zener cards.
Yeah.
It nearly is all identical. Learning coding and seeing hieroglyphics and putting up blocks and having to draw what's on the other side of it without seeing it. All of this other kind of stuff. And I thought it was really interesting. I went and looked up on the Monroe Institute, their write-up, and I downloaded, I don't know if you can see it.
Not really can. It's too bright. Oh, there we can.
Right? I thought this section was interesting, so I screenshot it and highlighted it for myself. So it says, and they're talking about what it's like with their participants at the Monroe Institute and how they kind of take them through these different levels. And this section, it says, some participants run into what we call the fear barrier, particularly if they try to advance too fast. One way or another, this manifests as a fear about the potential loss of the self as they know it. For this reason, the program develops along carefully controlled steps, each with a strong and positive base. This permits a self-protective mechanism to work. Hundreds of times we have observed that when an individual begins to stimulate himself more than his level of adjustment will allow, he blanks out the experience. He feels either that he went to sleep or that he clicked out for a period of time. Does that sound familiar?
That
All
does.
of these people saying, how did I forget that?
Yeah.
Or I have entire sections of school I don't remember anymore.
Yeah.
I went to class that day and then I woke up in class 3 hours later.
Dang. That's scary.
Yeah, that is weird.
Right? So, like I said, I knew we wouldn't have time to sit here and go over every little aspect that's the same as the GATE school program.
You're onto something though, because when, like Mark said, what's your hot take on this? Yeah, it's that makes just as much, actually more sense than some of the other theories that are out there. That
Some of these theories are
is.
wild. They
Yeah.
get pretty wild. But I think if you take elements out of all these theories and put them together, you get something very similar to that Gateway program. And like I said, I don't think it was necessarily nefarious, but it's just weird.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think there's a kernel of truth to a whole bunch of it, but I tend to think that the GATE program was initiated by the Department of Education when it came up, because they were trying to figure out ways to wheedle in there and kind of help support the students and get, grades up and stuff like that. And I think it was probably, a lot of these places already had these higher intelligent kind of programs to them. Let's step in there and help give them a boost. And we'll put out like a group test that everybody has to take so we can find out who maybe have this extra intelligence that we can help push. And I think in the process, because every government works this way, how can we make this work for us in other ways?
Right.
Maybe if these one set of kids test this way too, we might be able to test them more and see if maybe they can step into a military government program and help
So
out
you
that way
start
later
getting
on in
pressure
life.
from different parts of the government. Say, hey, while you're doing this, we want you to check for this, and we'll give you some extra funding.
Yeah. Now, whether or not there was anything nefarious going on, like the pink fluid or the tablets or, the sudden memory losses people are stating they have, I don't know. I have no idea. I can't say anything to that. But I really, truly think that I can see them doing it, While we have these kids in here who maybe have a higher intelligence, let's see what else they can do.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing wrong with collecting data.
No.
And I've got no problems with them collecting data as long as they're doing it on the up and up.
Yes, that's it right there.
Yeah.
That's
And
So
that's
totally.
where I think they
You're
fell
testing
short.
my kid for ESP. Tell me you're testing my kid for ESP. I'll support it 100%.
Yeah. Just as long as you know
because-
what it's all about.
I personally truly believe that expanding the human condition is only natural.
Mhm.
There's studies out there that say human development may have been driven by consuming mind-altering substances when we were very primitive. And that's entirely possible. Not that I'm going out and trying mind-altering substances is a good thing. But I have no problems with furthering the growth of humanity. But I want you to be honest about it, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, no joke.
Because from my point of view, I'd love to take that spoon bending class and,
Yeah. Did you? I wondered if you guys were checking the chat. Yeah, Enzo said that the Monroe Institute offers a spoon bending class. Where was it? 5 hours for $229.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a place in Tulsa where you can go learn to do it. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And then he said there's a guy that he listens to here on YouTube took the out of body experience course from Monroe, and he said it worked, and he uses it from time to time. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm assuming
I'd
that's
love
what he means.
I'd love to do the remote viewing. If I had the time to pursue it, I'd love to do like
Cool.
the astral projection stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm capable of doing that, hell, that'd be cheaper than a vacation.
Right.
What are you doing this afternoon? Well, I'm going to astral project myself to the beach someplace and drink an astrally projected drink out of a coconut with lots of rum in it. Or maybe I'll just drink a drink with a lot of rum in it. I don't know.
And Sylvain is in the chat. So, hey, Sylvain.
Oh, hey, Sylvain.
Yeah.
Like I said,
stuff.
I really don't know as anything nefarious was going on, but I kind of think that there was something below the surface that they weren't honest about. Mm-hmm. And because some parents would have taken their kids out of it.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And that's the parents' right. Some kids would have signed up for it. Immediately, I would have. I mean, you're going to teach me how to do what? Well, hell yeah! Let's sign me up right now. I just some of these things that they do that they think they need to keep secret is just dumb. Mm-hmm. And of course, most everything that any government does is dumb.
It makes you wonder what their motives are if they're wanting to be so secretive about something that they don't really need to be secretive about.
And that's where you get 1,500 different fringe theories about what's going on. Just tell us what's actually going on, and we won't have to make up dumb stuff.
Yep. Absolutely.
Just
well, frankly, if they weren't doing shady crap in the first place, we wouldn't have to come up with all these conspiracy theories because we know they do stuff like that.
Right.
It's true.
So,
I mean, look, like I said, MK Ultra always comes up. That was nefarious as hell. That was literally mind control.
There was a time that people were saying, hey, the government used mind control on me and they were filling me full of drugs and I kept, I woke up in a strange place or, whatever. And they were like, you're a conspiracy theorist. You're an idiot. And guess what?
Shocker. Yeah.
Yeah. See,
Sylvain said he's got a lot of hemisync from Monroe and that he recommends Paul Smith, his remote viewing basic course. That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know. If I can learn to bend spoons, I could learn to turn my lights off without getting out of my chair. And this is a plus for me.
That's funny.
Well, we can just get you a clapper. Do they still make the clapper?
Oh, yeah.
I could wire my house up and run it from Google from my phone, but
that's no fun.
What fun is that?
Yeah, you want to clap?
I don't want to use technology. I want to use my brain.
Ian said remote viewing
I should actually get off my fat butt and go up there and flip the light, but
Ian said remote viewing is probably the better value than bending spoons because he'd soon run out of spoons. Very good point.
Yeah,
you can bend them back, right?
Yeah, that's true. I want to blow stuff up with my brain. What movie was that? I can't remember what the.
I don't know. You get to be like the fire starter, like Drew Barrymore, and set everything on fire with just your brain. You gotta. She clenched her fist. She was like, and then it would set on fire. There you go.
I read that. That was a good book. That was a good book. Firestarter was a good book.
Yeah, it was a good book.
So,
good movie, better book.
Anyway, what's you guys' hot take?
X-Men, let's go.
Is it a conspiracy theory? Were they doing stuff that they shouldn't have been doing, or were they doing
stuff they shouldn't have been doing? And I think there's some conspiracy theories that have blown up around it, but I think there was something to it, and it probably, like Jess was alluding to, it probably has something to do with Gateway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my hot take on it. I believe it has everything to do with Gateway. The timelines match up. this GATE program started in schools in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, went through the most of the 90s before it pooped out, and that's the exact timeline for Gateway. Too much of the stuff lines up, and like I said, I don't think it's as nefarious everybody thinks it is. I think that they were testing and putting kids into Excel programs through GATE, through the Department of Education, to try to, boost those kids. But at the same time, someone else was standing there going, hey, while we're there, let's test them for this too and see if maybe they could step up into another role when they get older. And I think things got away from them, as they always do, because as everyone well knows, especially in the government situation, no two entities know what the other is doing. You don't get a lot of crosstalk. So this guy over here is going, throw this in there, and this guy's over there is going, throw this in there, and this is getting convoluted with this, and all it takes is one bad seed to go, let's do this too.
Exactly. And I'm going to tell you something that my psychology teacher told me in college. So we were having a discussion that he initiated, and we were discussing, should companies have the same rights as individuals? And so we argued it back and forth. And so we're about halfway through. People were getting mad. He says, let me stop you right here before you guys get mad. I said, I want you to tell you, you're both right and you're both wrong. And here's why. And so his take on it was, anytime you get an organization, and he specified companies, but I believe it's any organization that gets to be over a certain size, if you judge it by how you would judge a human being, they would be schizophrenic. You've got too many voices saying too many things, and nobody knows what to do. And companies that get too big start having big problems with this, where there's all these little voices yapping, and things stop getting done because Bob over here says to do it this way, and Sammy says to do it this way. And then, while we're doing that, and I think that's what happens with anything the government or any big corporation gets a hold of. You get all these voices and things get weird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. That's my take on it. I think it's a little bit of everything thrown in there with a probably not so nefarious underbelly to it to begin with, but maybe things changed. Yeah. I have no idea about like the really hard conspiracies like the pink fluid and the memory losses that. I can't say anything to that. I don't think that this program is still around anymore. Even the sheet that I found on the Emporia website, I think is a holdover from that original program that they're still continuing to use.
Yeah, it's changed now. Because, like... Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, I think that that program is not any longer around. However, some of these schools are still using the GATE moniker for a program that was started back then, but is still just a way to boost kids with some intellectual skills that are above the others and to help them up into their AP classes and into college courses to help them on the route that they choose to take. I don't think there's anything left to that anymore.
Yeah, and in the classes that they have now, because Eric, my youngest son, he was in it, and you have to have an IEP now to be in it. So there's a little bit more level of not tracking, but you have to answer to somebody. There's more
oversight.
Thank you. That's the word. Yeah, than there was back in the day. So yeah, it's still around, but it's not. It's more for the AP classes and things like that. It's actual. Yeah. I don't see him doing that, and Eric never talked about him doing anything weird.
I agree. I think that there's elements of this that are absolutely true, that they weren't telling people about it. I don't, like some of my documents said, it was the height of the Cold War when this stuff started, and they didn't want to share this with the enemy, but they didn't want to share it with us either. It would have been one thing if they had informed parents of what's going on, because probably most of those parents would have said, okay, just as long as I know, and the kid starts doing weird stuff and bending spoons and making the lights flash in the house, I'll know what's going on. It's not haunted.
The cat.
The educational system is actually working. But I think for the most part there was nothing nefarious going on there. Now there might have been some bad actors.
There always is.
There always is. There's, I can go into almost any building in the world and find one bad actor.
Yeah, it's true.
So there's that. But yeah, I think there's something to it. What exactly it is, I don't know, because they haven't, admitted to it yet.
Yeah.
But I think
we never admitted to it in our lifetime.
From what she's dug up from those documents, I think Jess has probably got the right of it.
Yeah, I would agree.
If that's something you want to do, and I'm actually interested in a lot of it, I might have to check out this Monroe Institute and see what kind of classes I can take online.
For sure, yeah, be fun.
Well, I think remote viewing would be cool, and astral projection, and spoon bending, and men who stare at goats, whatever. I mean,
right? That's funny.
I'm all in, but not everybody would be.
Yeah.
So, with me proving how weird I truly am. No, I haven't even touched it. These girls know, but I mean,
we're right there with you, man.
Yeah. So,
that's why we all get along so well.
I mean, that's true. You find people who match your weird.
Yep,
that's right.
And you'll have friends for life. In my case, I got, 2 sisters I never knew I needed.
Aww.
So. Our weird little trio.
This is a psychological trauma for me, because my aunts both convinced me that I was going to have a little sister, and then I was so upset when my brother was born.
Oh, no.
So I have this deep-seated need to have a sister, and you guys, you
they have 2.
Now I have 2.
We're glad to step in, sir.
Absolutely. You're the big brother that we don't want to tell on,
Aww.
That's right.
I always wanted to tell. I always told my brothers.
Once you don't get the wooden spoon after me, we're good.
Even Enzo said, "Aww."
Aww. So, with that being said, like I said, I think there's something to it. Look into it. See what you think. Jess pointed us to some good documents. You need to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
And say what you want. Conspiracy theories are always going to be among us, and they're never going to stop propagating, because so many of them end up being either partially or completely true.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say conspiracy theories are good because they root out the truth eventually.
Yeah. Or it comes out and says, well, we were doing this and it may have looked like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But regardless, the truth eventually comes out because somebody spoke up and said, I think this might be happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of it is truly awful. And a lot of it is like, why were you even keeping that a secret? Everybody knew.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's about all I have for tonight. You girls got anything else? You got any more stories?
No,
I think that'll do it.
Yeah. Interesting topic
All right.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It is an interesting topic. And, like I said, I'd have been all in if somebody would have told me that's what they were doing in school.
Right.
I would have said, sign me up. What do I got to do?
Yeah, for sure.
As long as it's not, too odious.
They probably wouldn't have picked you. They would have been like, nope, that kid's too eager and weird. We're out of here.
Like, nope, we're moving out of the whole school building.
Enzo said it is interesting. I'd be surprised if they completely canceled it. Yep. Probably
Well,
not.
I don't see a problem screening for abilities like that. I mean,
They've probably honestly moved it online or somewhere, in some of the games that are free to access or whatever.
probably.
I wonder if it's still kind of there in military schools.
Could be.
Might be.
Yeah.
Military schools, ROTC programs, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't
Maybe.
surprise me in the
Or
slightest.
at least a branch of some portion of it.
Some portion of it.
And that would be the
yeah.
perfect place for it, to identify
Mhm.
people like that who's already volunteering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why not?
Very cool.
But I say, if you're going to do something like that, bring it out in the open. You're going to have plenty of people sign up for it.
True.
I can't see. Well, maybe back in the 50s and 60s, not, because we don't believe in that kind of stuff. But I mean, in today's world, if they came out and offered a program like that, you would have no end of people signing up for it.
Probably.
Just full disclosure, they go, yeah, I'm in. That doesn't seem like a bad thing to me. So, all righty. Well, I'm about done, unless you guys got something else.
I think we've said it all.
Yep.
All right, probably too much.
Don't we always?
I surprisingly didn't get too far in the weeds tonight.
We didn't.
Not
Enzo
too
did
much.
say that's always been the tale. Guys get pulled out of their regular unit to go do the sci stuff out of nowhere.
Yeah. And yeah, why not? All right, guys. Well, that being said, good night, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us in the chats and participating. And those of you who are listening to this on other podcast providers, we hope you enjoy the chaos.
Yeah.
As much as we do. All right, folks. Good night.
Yeah.
Good
Good night,
night.
everybody.